Laicie Heeley is Director of Middle East and Defense Policy at the nonpartisan research group, the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation. She joins us from Washington this evening. Laicie, what do you make of the deadline being extended?
So I think that we shouldn't make too much of this deadline being extended. As was said, this was a bit of a soft deadline. The real deadline is ultimately this summer. It's June, at the end of June, and negotiators will be working hard throughout the night. Ultimately, if they need those few more hours to come down to the wire and for folks to hold out until that deadline is absolutely solid, then I think they should keep going through the night. Ultimately, it looks like they've made a lot of progress throughout the day. Some of the issues that were in the news over the past couple of days, we're seeing some brief reports that they've made a lot of progress, and the negotiators clearly feel that there's enough progress to continue.
But what do you see as being the one issue that remains the most difficult for the sides to come together on?
So I think that ultimately the sanctions issue is, of course, very difficult. It's been something they've been talking about throughout the process, over a year of negotiations, and Iran would like to see the sanctions lifted very quickly, and the U.S. and its international partners would like to see the sanctions kept on as long as possible, of course, and a snapback mechanism put in place. So that's going to be an important issue. Also, Iran's R&D, its research and development on its current nuclear program, working out some of the finer details on that. But really, we've come a long way. This is over 12 months of negotiations. They are coming down to the wire, and they have come to agreements on centrifuges. They've come to agreements on Iran's plutonium facility. They've come to agreements that analysts never thought that they would be able to come to. And so just getting over this last line, that's something they should be able to do.
For Israelis and folks in Saudi Arabia, there are concerns that Iran simply cannot be trusted. What is in the verification that might satisfy them, or is that another issue that remains right now on the table tonight?
Well, ultimately, anyone who argues that Iran can't be trusted, that's exactly why we need a deal. The verification measures that will keep the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, on the ground, and the inspectors in Iran's nuclear facilities, that is the important thing. That's keeping those folks there and keeping monitoring on Iran's international program, Iran's nuclear program, not only stops them from making more advances on their current program, but it also keeps inspectors there to detect any sort of illicit activity on the part of Iran.
But my understanding was that one of the sticking
outside of its current
Don't mean
program.
to interrupt, but my understanding is that one of the sticking points the last couple of days is that Iran was insisting on a mechanism whereby they could essentially keep the inspectors out in very short notice and then have their breakout period towards trying to do whatever they want to do with the enriched uranium.
Well, so I think that ultimately having those inspectors on the ground is going to be very important. Iran's not going to be able to kick those inspectors out. That would be cause for immediate international action if they were to do that. The inspectors are there now. They've been there prior to the interim agreement that's currently in place. They have much more access now under this interim agreement, and they'll have even more access under a final agreement. But kicking those inspectors out, that would be a red flag and something to be really concerned about. So keeping them there is very, very important to the negotiations.